قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Say, He is Allah who is one, Allah the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor there is to him any equivalent. Sadaqallahu lazim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala rasulihi nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi ashabihi ajmain. Once again, welcome to all of you for joining us today for this session. Before I start, let me give a brief introduction of TAIF. TAIF Digital Institute is created to lead the way through a new age approach of training and awareness of Islamic finance. TAIF is providing end-to-end digital learning solution to Islamic banks and Islamic finance institutions by combining the knowledge of Islamic finance and technology and providing it to the masses of the Ummah. TAIF offers to make Islamic banking and finance to the world as a commercially viable solution by digitizing it and making it available to all. So without keeping you further waiting, I would like to introduce you to our today's speaker, Brother Nizar Alshubaily, who is the author of several books. He is an authority on the subject of riba and he has experience of more than 40 years. He is a specialist in Islamic banking and investment management. I would also like Mr. Ziaullah Siddiqui, our CEO of TAIF Digital Institute, to take the lead and start the session from here on.
So, Sheikh, I would request you to start your discussion with giving us like an from a common, like, I don't want you to be too philosophical. We want, like, most of the people who are attending this webinar, and I see, Alhamdulillah, that the number is almost reaching 100 now. Most of us are common people. So for the purposes of us, can you kindly elaborate for us what is riba and what is the difference between interest or usury?
Thank you, Brother Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Wassalatu wassalam ala nabiyyina wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Brother Muhammad, and everybody at TAIF for inviting me. As you said, riba is an important subject, and I've been doing it for a long time. And actually, the more I do it, the more it becomes confusing. And I will explain that later, because it is very much a subject that depends on how sensitive you are, how conservative you are. It really, truly is. I wish, of course, we had a machine that we can put any structure in and it would tell us if it's riba or not. But this does not exist. So unfortunately, we have to use our best judgments and, most importantly, the words of our scholars to let them decide what is actually riba. It's very easy to fall into the trap of any time you don't like something, you say this must be riba, when it may not be. Okay, so let me start with a few things about riba to show you the complexity and the issue of riba, interest, and usury. First of all, riba is not interest. People have got it wrong. Interest and usury are different than riba. Only a part of them is riba. Only one part of interest is riba, not all of it. And there's a reason for that. First of all, interest and usury are the same words. They're exactly the same words. Usury is just the old word for interest. You'll find it in many dictionaries and so on. It will tell you. Usury is the archaic form of interest. This is what it used to be called. So it's the same thing. Later, when, of course, Europe abandoned the prohibition of interest, they split the words. And interest became the normal and acceptable interest, and usually became the unacceptable interest, which is the excessive interest. And so there were laws saying if you charge above 5% or above 7%, this is usury and not allowed. And interest became the normal things that everybody sort of accepted. But they're actually the same thing. There is no difference between. Riba is not that. The reason is that because the word interest really, if you look at it and you study it from all its aspects, has a meaning of simply the cost of funding. When you get into a funding situation, whatever the cost, we call it interest. Let's take a simple example. I wish to buy a car for 50,000 dirhams. I can go to my bank and get a loan. The bank can say to me, I will charge you 10%. What do we call that? We say this is interest, of course, right? If you ask a non-Muslim, say, why don't you go to the dealer and buy it straight from the dealer on installments? He will go to the dealer, and there are some dealers, of course, as you know, equipment, they will actually give you credit, of course. They will actually sell you on installments. They don't need to buy. So if he goes to the dealer and the dealer says, yes, the car is 50,000 dirhams, I will sell it to you for 60,000 in installments, what will the person think? He will say, the extra money is interest. It is also interest, because to him, it's just an economical thing. It's, if I'm paying for it, it's interest. That's not what Sharia tells us. Sharia tells us if you are selling, you are a seller, and you have a right to increase the margin. That's not that. You can call it interest if you like. Call it as much as you want interest, but it's not riba. It is not the forbidden riba. This is why you have halallahu al-bay' wa harram al-riba. They know exactly what riba is and what bay' is. Bay' is when you are an owner of something and you sell it. In this case, you are allowed to make a margin. You are allowed to sell more. Today, unfortunately, we have, and for a long time, and we've talked about this because I've been in Islamic banking for a long time. We have said to the Islamic banks, please don't use the word non-interest banking. Because what happens is that those who don't know, they see an Islamic bank, they go to an Islamic bank to try to get funding, whether it's a house or a car and so on. They say, hey, wait a minute, you are charging me interest. How come you say you're non-interest? It should be non-riba banking, because these two are different. Interest on money is not allowed. If you add a margin on a sale, it is allowed. This is a very important point, and people still have this issue. I don't know why people still have this issue. I suppose perhaps it hasn't been explained properly. I suppose there aren't enough things maybe in English because many people do not read Arabic. Many institutions do not have, I think, special sessions like you have doing today on riba to try to explain to people, perhaps for all these reasons. But it can lead to serious confusion. It can lead to serious confusion because 2 months ago, I read an article by a Muslim brother. And he is basically saying that the riba that is forbidden in the Qur'an is only excessive interest. And his claim as to why that is, he says, because the word riba has been translated into the word usury into English. I sent him, brother, the Quran is Arabic. It is not what is translated. This is simply the best effort of people. It is the Arabic word riba. There is no scholar in history really would tell you that it's only excessive. It's any amount. So, he gets confused and he thinks the word usury is used, therefore it must be excessive interest. This is the only riba. We cannot have that. Really, something as basic as that, it's very difficult for me, been this for a very long time, that, that we can have that somebody could actually think that it's only if it's a big amount. If it's a small amount, it's okay. We need to correct that. So this is interest, usury, and riba. Difference between them. Are there any questions so far? Is there anybody who has a question so far? It's better to actually, in my opinion, to go through some questions because otherwise we'll have too many later.
Further elaborate on the difference between riba and, like, for a common person, if I want to make, like, if I have, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please repeat.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that can you kindly summarize for us again what is the, you talked about the deferred payment sale. Yes. And you mentioned the deferred payment sale is allowed and charging extra on the deferred payment is allowed.
Correct.
But what is not allowed?
What is not allowed in riba, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. For this, let's talk about what is riba and what are the different types of riba. I think this will make it. Okay. The riba of the Quran, it is called Riba al-Quran, one of its names, is riba of debt. When there is debt, anything you lend, usually people lend fungible products, like money, grain, things that you return the equivalent of, anything that you lend and you stipulate an increase is riba.
Okay.
Now, some scholars differentiate between what is called riba al-qard and riba al-duyun. What is the difference? Is riba al-qard is from the beginning. When I come to you and I say, Brother Muhammad, here's $100, you must pay me back 105. This is riba al-qard. Riba al-duyun, if there is already a debt outstanding. I have sold you something, or I have already loaned you money, and now is the time for repayment. You come to me and say, I cannot repay you today, I have to repay you in 2 months' time, and I say, well, I must increase. That is riba al-duyun, the riba of debt. This is also called riba al-jahiliyyah, this riba of debt, because a lot of people mention it, and it seemed to be by historical standard a more common form in Jahiliyyah. Not the only one, but a more common form. Okay? So this is actually the riba that is mentioned in the Quran. It has debt in it. Debt, not sales. Riba of sales is something else. Riba of debt is what is mentioned in the Quran, what is forbidden in the Quran. It is also called a riba al-kamil, the complete riba. It is also called a riba al-jali, a clear riba. It has many names. Riba al-jahiliyyah, riba al-Quran, riba al-ashad, riba al-ghalid. The people gave it a riba al-haqiqi, the real riba. You have different scholars providing that. But this is the true riba, including also a word that everybody has heard, riba al-nasi'a. Al-nasi'a means delay, riba of delay. Basically, you're getting a price for time. Okay? Sharia forbids the simple price of time if you are lending, but does not forbid it if you are selling. There is no problem with the time value of money if you are a salesman. If you're selling, it's attached to the price. Okay?
Okay.
Okay? So far, so good. Any questions so far?
No. You can continue.
Okay,
you can continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, we will come back to riba of sales later, and then I'll put the slide up. Riba of debt. Not every time there is a stipulation in a loan, is it riba? People sometimes I see them, saying the old principle: every loan that brings a benefit is riba. They seem to think that any benefit at all must be riba. That you cannot benefit out of a loan. This is not true. This is not true. Let's go through them so I make sure people understand. When you lend to somebody, there are either stipulations and non-stipulations. Okay? Stipulations is when you make it part of the contract. The first one is if you stipulate an increase for a better quality, this is riba. Okay?
Okay.
This is absolute. If you stipulate, if you say, give me 5% more or give me better quality, this is riba. Pretty much this is the consensus. Okay. The second area of stipulation is when you ask for collateral, when you ask for guarantees. These are not illegitimate. You are allowed to ask for these things. I can ask you for collateral. I can say to you, I want collateral for this loan. This is not illegitimate. It is a benefit to me. It covers my risk, but it's not illegitimate. It is not part of the term. Every loan that brings a benefit is riba. It's simply not. Okay, and daman is the same thing. I can ask you to bring me somebody who will guarantee me. Okay. The third stipulation is if you stipulate something like you pay me in another country. I tell you, Brother Muhammad, here's $100. I'm paying you in Dubai. I want you to pay it to me in Qatar. This is called suftaja. The word for it is called suftaja, the term. It's a Persian word, originally meant something like a pocket where you put money is for the protection of the road. They call it suftaja. And there is some dispute concerning this. It is approved today by IOFI and many other people, as long as it's not really a big cost and a burden to the borrower. As long as the borrower does not have a big cost in paying somewhere else, then it's not a problem. Now, of course, the reason they used to do it like this is because they wanted to protect themselves from the road if they are traveling. Okay, so I don't want to take the gold and silver with me. I will give it a loan to somebody who has an agent somewhere else, and then I can travel over there without any money, and I can get my money. This is also not a riba situation unless it's really a burden. There is some dispute, some people disputed it, but generally speaking, it's acceptable as long as it's not really a cost to the borrower. This is the third area of stipulation is if you stipulate another contract with the loan, like a sale contract. You give him a loan and you sell him something at a higher price. This is forbidden. Others say it's nothing wrong with selling as long as it's not at a higher price. So that there's no advantage. So it's a true sale and a true loan. But there is a hadith on forbidding al-bay' wa salaf, to combine them together because it's a trick of riba. Of course. There is also other contracts that you can stipulate in the loan. For example, if I loan you some money and I say, but you will rent my house. Is that a benefit to me or not? Some say no. Some say yes. And the reason some say yes is because you are getting a benefit. Others say it's only riba if you are actually charging him a higher price than the market. But otherwise, there's nothing wrong with it. I can give you a loan. You wish to rent. You actually, in fact, wish to rent a house. And the money that you pay for the rent a house is ijara. It is legitimate. So some people, don't like that. Generally speaking, scholars never like the idea of combining too many things with qard because they feel that there could be a method of achieving riba. But there are some things acceptable. So this gives you the stipulations of that. And of course, within each stipulation, there are some details. Riba has details, and it's important to know. I'll just mention one because we don't want to too complicated unless somebody asks a question. Collateral, for example, we mentioned that you can take collateral, but you cannot use the collateral for income as a lender. If I take something that is, think about it, I've given you the loan and the collateral is making my money, so therefore I have a benefit from it, right, immediately. This is not allowed. Generally speaking, this is not allowed to use that collateral, okay? So this is the riba al-qurud. Now, when it comes to non-stipulated issues, what is non-stipulated? Non-stipulated is it's not in the contract. I didn't ask you for it, okay? So one of them is a gift. You give me a gift, or you give me interest at the end. You give me more at the end. The loan is finished, you come back, you repay me the loan, and you give me more. Is that acceptable or not? Yes, it is. It is called husna qada. The Prophet ﷺ did that, and he said, the better among you are the one who pay more. It's better to give more. Because it's not stipulated. It's conditional. It's the willingness of the borrower to do so. This is okay. Here, the dispute is, of course, that some people always will pay more. Some people are known for their generosity and they will pay more. It could become habitual. Yes? And so some people, they say, if it becomes habitual, we don't like it. It becomes part of the contract. Now, especially if it's a financial institution, that there's no condition that they will pay you anything, but every quarter they start paying you something. That's not, doesn't sound right. Huh? It's because it's habitual and it's a financial institution. However, if it's a human being that's doing that, and he's well known for his generosity, the scholars say this is permissible because the Prophet ﷺ was like that. You cannot penalize somebody because they are generous. Some scholars said, no, you should lend him, but don't take it. Don't take the interest at the end. So everybody has their view. But this is acceptable. What about a gift in the middle of the loan? I have given you 100 for 3 months. You come in the middle of the period and you give me a gift. This is not allowed. Unless you and I had an existing friendship relationship in which we used to always give each other gifts, for the birth of a child or promotion or something, this is not allowed. Because the suspicion is that you are giving me the gift during the loan to delay the payment. This is the suspicion. So they don't want this. You give me a gift basically to say, after 1 month, I don't pay you, I'll delay it. That sort of thing. So they don't like it. To avoid all that, but to still accept the gift is allowed under 2 conditions. You can take the gift and give the guy another gift that is equivalent. So you brought me a watch, I'll give you the same watch. I'll give you a gift, right? So this way the values are gone. Or I take the value of the gift and I deduct it from the loan. You owe me 100, you give me something worth 5, I will remove it, I'll say you owe me now only 95. Because this is actually sometimes it's considered to be better because you don't want to disappoint somebody when they've given you a gift.
Correct.
So just cancel it from the debt or give them an equivalent gift. It is end up with the same thing since you have not benefited. Okay. The Sahaba radiallahu anhu were very sensitive about issues of collateral. Okay. And there is one story, and there are different versions of the story of Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. He passed by a man who was sitting outside on his porch. And he said to him, so and so, why are you sitting on your porch? It's very hot, very sunny. Usually you sit on your friend's porch where there is a shade. And the man said, I have given my friend a loan. He was so worried that he's given his friend a loan that even using the shade of his house would be looked at as illegitimate benefit. This is, this is how much they were worried about.
Of course, yeah.
That even a little shade I will not use, it's a benefit because I've already given him a loan, right? So, we today, people take all sorts of things and say, it's okay, it's okay. We're not as sensitive maybe to riba as they were. Yeah. So this is a riba, riba of sales, okay? Any questions so far? Does anybody have questions concerning what we have said so far? Please.
You can continue. We will take them afterwards.
Take them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take them afterwards, inshallah.
Okay. Just to give people a feeling, a little bit of sort of humanity on riba. It's good for people to know stories on riba, a little bit of stories on riba and how it relates, because people read things, they read books of tafsir and so on, and they're not aware of some of these things in riba. Umar bin al-Khattab, of course, was known to have said a number of things on riba that are continuously attributed to him in practically every book. He was very worried about the idea that maybe we did not understand fully riba. And he said, the last verses were the last, the verses of riba were the last to be revealed. And the Prophet ﷺ died before explaining to us certain aspects. And we don't know, so let us avoid suspicion. If there's anything suspicion, let us avoid it. But he also said that we may have exaggerated a lot of haram because of fear of riba. We may have exaggerated what is riba and so on. He even said that we may have forbidden you many things that are beneficial to you for fear. So there are areas where people don't know. They know the main riba, but there are so many aspects of riba that one finds it difficult to know. So sometimes you forbid something, it could be halal, or you permit something you think is okay, it could be riba. Very confusing. Another interesting story which people especially in Ramadan, everybody looks to Mecca and they look at the Kaaba and so on. So, and what was the reputation of riba in Jahiliyyah? In Jahiliyyah, there is a story. 5 years before the revelations, when the Prophet ﷺ was about 35 years old or so, there was a bit of flooding in the Kaaba. It ruined the Kaaba a little bit. And the tribe of Quraysh wanted to do a reconstruction of it. At the time, there was also a Roman galley ship that washed ashore on the shores of Jeddah. It was owned by a Roman merchant. It was Roman times at the time. And the tribe of Quraysh decided that they will use that wood. They will go and buy it and get it from the ship to reconstruct the Kaaba. And so they did so, and they brought a carpenter, a Coptic carpenter at the time. He was in Mecca at the time, and his name is Baqum. I think people call him Baqum. Now the story is the following: is that a man reputed to be a man called Al-Walid bin al-Mughira. That's one of the names given. Now I don't know if people know who Al-Walid bin al-Mughira is. He's the father of Khalid bin al-Walid.
Yes.
Okay. Al-Mughira family tribe were also lenders in riba. It is reputed that Khalid bin Walid had a partnership, him or one of his brothers, with, of course, Al-Abbas bin Muttalib radiallahu anhu. They were actually lending. Al-Walid Mughira was the father of Khalid, and he gave a speech, and he said, O Quraysh, in the construction of the Kaaba, we will not include 1, prostitution money, 2, riba sales, and 3, any money from injustices, from any madla. So they knew already in Jahiliyyah riba, and that riba was bad.
Correct.
They were doing it because obviously there was no law saying don't do it. But obviously they knew that was no good because they put it within the 2 injustices of prostitution and theft and said, we don't want to make it part of reconstructing the Kaaba. Now, what happened is that they did not, because of this, because they did not include all the bad money, basically, they did not have enough money. So they couldn't rebuild the Kaaba and the same size as it was, which is why Hijr Ismail, the crescent shape, is outside now. The Kaaba, it used to be inside. And it went back and forth, actually, a number of times. But this is why you're not allowed to pass through it for when you do tawaf. It used to cover it. And Aisha radiallahu anha asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, why did you build it like this? He said they didn't have enough money. That was an incident. This is a well-known incident which shows you, which gives us really one of the few times that the word riba is mentioned in a jahiliyyah, right? Because we don't have a lot of things from that time to tell us the riba appeared in the Quran, right? This is one of the few things that we actually have. And it tells us that the reputation was bad, okay? So this is just as an interesting side note for people to be aware of, people know what riba is, okay? Should I go on or you want to stop for questions?
No, you can continue.
Okay. If brother, let's talk about riba of sales now a little bit, because it will complete the picture. If brother,
should we put on the slide?
Yeah.
Hassan, can you put the slide?
Excellent. Okay. I think everybody is, of course, heard of riba of sales. Riba of sales also is known as riba sunnah and riba hadith because it is mentioned in the hadith. It's not in the Quran, the riba of sales. Now, there's a few things that are important to understand very, very, very clearly. People, I think, in general, who have covered this area do know the general aspects, but there's some details that's very important to understand. Okay, so if you see on the table here, you will have the 6 items that are mentioned. The gold and silver, the wheat, barley, dates, and salt. Of course, gold and silver, of course, are metals. They are like currency. Wheat, barley, dates, and salt are foods or types of things that are used for foods. And they were staples at the time. The rule is the following. Items in the same category, so gold and silver in the same category, can only be traded for immediate exchange. Gold against silver must be traded only against immediate exchange. You cannot delay any one of them. If it is the same item from the same category, like gold for gold, it can only be traded for immediate exchange and equality. Must be equal and immediate. So I give you the gold now, you give me the gold now, immediate and equal. Equal in what? In weight. Why the weight? Because the weight is the custom of the people of Mecca during the revelations. That is the custom. This is the convention on gold and silver by weight. Okay? The wheat, barley, dates, and salt. Anytime you trade any of them against each other, also it must be for immediate delivery. Wheat against barley is immediate, wheat against dates is immediate, salt against barley is immediate. But they only have to be equal if they are the same, such as wheat and wheat, dates and dates, barley for barley, those have to be equal. And they're equal in volume. And volume is the custom of the people of Medina. Okay? At the time of the revelation, this was the custom of the people of Medina. They sold them by volume, and it will remain volume. Now, some scholars will tell you that these items will remain by weight and the foods will remain by volume until the day of judgment. You cannot change that. You can sell them by kilograms, but to know riba, you must look at volume. Okay? only if you come out of the categories such as gold and wheat. Gold and wheat, for example, first of all, they don't have to be the same quality in any shape or form, and one of them could be delayed. So you could buy wheat today and pay for gold later. Gold today, wheat later, which is called what? It's called salam contract, of course, when you pay the money now. Okay, is that understood how they are traded? Or because it's very important to get it, because there's some things that are going to come out of this that is very important for people. So if anybody has questions concerning this, it is better for them to ask it now. Any questions or no?
Yeah, no, I think we have questions, but I will take them.
You'll take them?
Not a
Okay.
specific area.
Okay. Okay, so you have the two categories, gold and silver, and you have the category of wheat, barley, dates, and salt. These are the specific items that were mentioned. Items of the same category always must be traded immediate. When items are not from the same category, such as gold and wheat, two different categories, they don't have to be immediate. This is not a requirement. One of them could be delayed. Only when an item is the same, wheat for wheat, does it have to be the same volume. Barley for barley, the same volume. Now I put the colors here so that it makes it very easy for people to see. Okay, so when you see sort of the red here, gold for gold, it says equality. The word in Arabic is tamathul, equality. Okay, and immediate exchange. The word in Arabic is taqabud. Taqabud means hand to hand. I give you, you give me. When it's red, those items must be traded equally and immediately. Where it is yellow, only immediate exchange. They don't have to be the same weight. So you can trade 1 kilogram of gold for 5 kilograms of silver. Not an issue, but immediate, no delay. That's why it's yellow. The other color, the very light color, it means it's free. You neither have to have equality nor immediate exchange. It is not necessary. This is the riba of sales that our Prophet ﷺ taught us, and had been handed down to us. Now, if you look up, you will see it says the golden rule. Ignorance of equality is knowledge of inequality. Let me explain that. Riba is not always a thing that you have to have intention to do. It is not always an attempt to trick to do. Riba, you could fall into it. In riba al-buyu', riba, you could fall into it if you do not follow that particular ruling. That ruling is important. You must follow that ruling. Which means what? Which means if I exchange dates with you, and I say, Brother Muhammad, he's a bucket of dates or he's a bag of dates, and you give me a bag of dates. If we are not sure that they are of equal volume, then this is riba. What it says is our ignorance of whether it is equal is knowledge of inequality, and therefore riba. This is the rule. In Arabic, it's called الجهل بالتماثل كالعلم بالتفاضل. Ignorance of equality. If we don't know that they are equal, that means you know they are unequal. Of course, you say, I don't know that they are unequal. But the rule in fiqh is that, yes, you do, because you did not make sure that they are. Okay? This is a very important. This is, you could fall into riba easily like this. Okay?
Brother, just to understand, the types that you have mentioned here, these are the situations which are allowed. Anything which is not like gold for gold, it has to be like same time equality. It has to be equal and it has to be immediate.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
If it is not equal and not immediate, then there is an element of riba there.
Correct.
If it is equal and immediate, then there is no riba.
There's no riba.
Right?
Correct.
My understanding is correct? Yeah.
Correct. Equal and immediate. If it's the same item, yes.
Correct. So we follow the table: silver for silver, wheat for wheat,
yes,
barley for barley. Yeah. If we want to eliminate riba, it has to be immediate and equal.
Correct. Absolutely.
But if gold for silver, it has to be immediate, not necessarily equal.
Not necessarily equal. Correct.
Same gold for dates, not necessarily. It should be it's free. It can be equal. It can be. There is no limitation there, right?
Exactly.
So
No
this is how the
limitation.
table is. Yeah.
No limitation on equality, and one of them can be delayed.
Okay.
So you can sell barley against gold on deferred payment. I'll give you the barley now, you get the gold later. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And there is no issue of the volume because they are different
They are
items.
different. There you go. Excellent. Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
Now, in gold and silver, there is consensus that gold and silver jewelry is also the same as gold and silver currencies, as any other gold. All gold and all silver. There is a dispute a little bit. There are people who, there are a number of scholars and in history who said, but you know, when you have, let's say, a gold necklace, for example, you know, a woman wearing a gold necklace, they say there is no zakat on it, it's personal. Some people say there is zakat, some people say it's personal, there's no zakat. Therefore, why are we not looking at a gold necklace as a commodity? Why does it still remain as value, you know, as a currency? Why should it be the case? Why should, you know, who in their right mind want to exchange, you know, pure gold for gold jewelry, let's say, equal in weight? It doesn't make sense. It surely should be the value. This is an issue that there is some dispute on it. In scholarly history, people like Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim said in their view, once an item has become a jewelry, it has left the realm of prices. It's no longer currency. It should be traded as a commodity. There are today disputes. The majority, it seems, the consensus is still that gold and silver jewelry are the same as gold and silver coins, are the same as gold and silver bars, are the same as gold and silver, you know, grains when you're selling in grains. The same, all the same. All gold and silver are the same. It doesn't become a commodity. People like in Al-Azhar and other places say, no, it's a commodity and you can buy it a commodity. This will become important later when we talk about modern, you know, things that people do. Well, I'll say it now because we might forget. Let's say it now.
Sure.
When you go and buy gold, how do you buy it? If you go and you want to buy something gold for your wife or for somebody, you buy a ring or you buy a necklace or a bracelet. How do you buy it? You buy it on credit. You buy it on credit, it's Ribba, immediately, because it's gold. This is the difference. Those people who dispute that say no, because it's a necklace, it's not commodity now, it's not a problem. Those who say that, it's Ribba. So we have to watch out. You say, well, how did I commit Ribba? You committed Ribba because you bought on credit. Money against gold, silver against gold has to be immediate, for immediate delivery. This has caused a problem, and there have been many fatwas concerning this issue, where people are paying these days. As you know, people pay by either, many people don't pay by cash. They will pay by debit card or credit card. Okay? Now, credit card, at first, it was not allowed to buy gold and silver by credit card. And some people have allowed it because they saw that it had the power of cash. That when a person is getting the piece of paper saying, we will pay you, the bank will pay. Other scholars say, no, it is not acceptable because the actual payment to the merchant when you buy it may not come on that day, may not be immediate. Yes, he's owed, the bank says to him that, but it may not be immediate, right? It could take a day to depend on the settlement of what he's agreed with the bank. Same thing, Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili said, even a debit card I do not accept. He said, if you pay by debit card, now you think debit card is cash, right? It's, he said, even debit card, do not leave the store until you are sure that the cash has hit the merchant's account. Otherwise, it is riba. So it's important to understand some scholars are very conservative, some scholars are less so, some scholars are different doing things. So, with one scholar, you could be committing riba, with another one, he says, this is okay. It happens. That's just the way it is.
Like, if I purchase jewelry on a credit card or a debit card for a value, so what element is riba? If there is a possibility, remote possibility of the riba, what element could be riba? If I'm paying anything extra or?
No, there's no extra. You could pay it because you're paying money. It doesn't matter. There's no reason for equality. As long as you're paying money, no. The reason is not. It's the immediate exchange.
Okay.
It is important
Okay.
to have exchange. Now imagine if you're paying for gold online. You just bought something online. When will they deliver it to you? When did you pay them? You paid them now? Did the money go to them now? And when will they deliver the gold? Later? You just broke the rule. It's riba. You see? So what they do, the scholars, of course, they have found solutions. And what they tell you is that if you do that by online, the company or either have an agent or have the company itself be your agent to take delivery of the gold. And now it's an amana with them, right? Because otherwise you bought something to be delivered later. Khalas, it's riba. So be careful with that. You have to have the appropriate functions. Now, I think most companies would do that. They would keep it in custody for you until such time as they. But you have to make sure that it has now been assigned to you, right? That particular necklace is now assigned to you, because otherwise, if what did you actually buy, right? It has to be specific to you. So these are the current problems that a lot of people have when it comes to jewelry and immediate delivery and making sure it's the weight by weight. Another one that happens in the market a lot is that people sometimes go with their old jewelry and they would like new gold. This happens a lot in the Gulf, where women want to get rid of their old gold and get new gold. It must be weight for weight. Now what happens, of course, is that the seller, the merchant, the fabricator, the gold jeweler, want to sell them his gold for a higher price. So he asks them for more money, even though the weights might be equal, or the weights are less. So he asks for more money. This is riba. The scholars do not like that at all. So what they say is, do not exchange. Do not exchange your old jewelry gold for gold. Sell it first. Sell it. Get rid of it. Sell it. Take the money and then buy what you want. Don't go into, because anytime you don't know, anytime you are unsure of the weights, immediately you are falling into areas of riba, which could be very, very difficult. Especially, we are all just normal people who are not scholars to sit around and look at every rule. So how's a normal person going to be able to, discover everything, right? It's very difficult. So they say avoid the subject altogether and just simply sell your gold, then buy new gold. Another one is when you manufacture gold. You go to a fabricator and you say, I would like to actually make, you want to make a gold ring. You make a gold ring, and what are you going to pay him for his work? You're going to pay him money. When will he deliver his work? 3 days? 4 days? You have just broken the rule of immediacy, of taqabud. Why? Because the gold belongs to him. He is the fabricator. This is called istisna. Istisna is a manufacturing contract. It is his gold. So he's going to take time to manufacture it. You have just broken the imina. You cannot pay with it, currency or for silver. What you need to do is buy the gold first. Buy the gold, then give it back to him and say, please manufacture it as a ring or as a necklace and so on. This is unbelievably common, these things that happen. People don't know, but it's so unbelievably common. If you go to any country, from the Middle East all the way to India, how many people out there are running around exchanging gold and doing these kind of things in the souk? You know, and I know. We know it's a lot.
Correct.
It happens, right? I mean, people who live in our area, in London, you will not find this maybe, but here, in the souk, I mean, there are people doing it left, right, and center. And in India and other places, in Malaysia, this happens a lot. And all of these could be aspects of riba. Extremely important to be careful about. Okay? Now, going back to this chart, I would like to point out something, because people always ask about this and they're not sure. It's going to sound complicated at first, but it's actually very simple. But I want people to just, pay a little bit of attention, because it will help you a lot. People have asked, how do we know that we are allowed to sell something on deferred payment and increase the margin, right? Because, they keep thinking this is like riba, this is similar to riba, right? This is what the people say, إنما البيع مثل الربا. So people sometimes, and you find it today on websites and this, and some of them are actually Islamic finance professionals who will tell you that Increasing the margin on a deferred payment sale is not allowed. They say this is like riba. I say, no, brother, it's not riba. It is not riba, it is allowed. So they say, how do we know it's allowed? Well, we know from the legacy, we know from history that people were selling. We know from the Qur'an itself, from the tafsir of Qur'an itself, that this was the case. Okay? I will come back to that, but I'll explain to you how you know it from this. This chart gives you the permission to sell things on a deferred payment at a higher price for the simple reason. Take gold and silver. We said gold and silver must be traded immediately, but you can trade them in any amounts. They don't have to be equal, correct? Wheat and barley, same thing. Wheat and barley have to be immediate, but do not have to be in the same volume. What about gold and wheat? Well, as we said, look at gold and wheat. Gold and wheat, it is free. They don't have to be equal, and one of them could be delayed, correct? Now, let us say I'm selling you a bag of wheat, and you are going to give me gold, grams of gold. I give you this bag of wheat for 1 gram of gold. Can I sell it to you for 1 gram of gold? Can I sell it to you for 2 grams of gold? Can I sell it to you for 3 grams of gold? Is that allowed? Yes. The rules say yes, it's allowed. It's a price. I have a bag of wheat. I sell it to you. If you agree to pay 1, it's fine. You agree to pay 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, right? Okay. Now, can I sell you the bag of wheat and accept that you pay me gold in 1 month's time? Yes. There are the rules. It says one of them can be delayed. This is called a deferred payment sale, which I give you the product and you give me the money later. At what price can I give it to you? Can I sell it to you for 1 gram, 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams? Yes, because the rules say I can sell it for any price. So now we have 2 sets of prices, do we not? One for immediate, one for deferred. For immediate, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. For deferred, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that tells you is what? I am allowed to sell it 1 for immediate and 2 for deferred. The Prophet ﷺ did not put any further rules on this. Riba al-Buyu' shows that selling something on deferred payment at a higher price than the immediate price is allowed. Otherwise, the rule would have been saying, don't do it. The fact that you have something called free, the fact that you have items that can be traded in tafadul, means inequality, and at the same time, an added time dimension, wherever I'm delayed, meaning I can have tafadul on the time. And as Ibn Taymiyyah and many of the scholars in history have said, time has its share of the price. When asked about selling something on deferred payment at a higher price, he said, time has its share of the price. All the schools have accepted that an item may be sold at a higher price than immediate if one wants to. You are perfectly allowed to do so. Unfortunately, there are people who put some doubts and keep saying that this is doubtful and so on, but it's not true. From the Quran, you have the tafsir. Sorry, you wanted to say something, Brother Muhammad?
No. You can continue. I will ask you when you finish. Yeah.
Okay. If there are any questions, we can answer them and come back because there's some more.
There was like one brother asked one question, which is
yes.
like I noticed, which is Yunus Ghazali. What if the dates in barley are of different quality? Must the volume still be the same?
Yes. Quality is immaterial. I put it outside. Differences in value in the market or quality are immaterial. If you are trading barley for barley, the quality is not relevant.
Okay.
Gold for gold, the quality is not relevant. It does not matter. This is the hadith that people took before. There is a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ concerning dates, in which a person comes to him with dates and say, I'm selling 2 dates for 1 day, 2 buckets of dates for 1 bucket of dates. He said, don't do it. This is riba. He said, go sell the 2 buckets, then go sell, don't buy the buckets. There were 2 different quality dates. Here, quality does not matter. What you sell is by volume. Whether it's low quality dates, higher quality date, does not matter.
Okay.
The only time it matters, it's whether the barley or wheat and dates are in the field or on the trees. Difference. So, a bag of dates, I want to sell you a bag of dates for dates on the tree, still on the tree. Okay? This is not allowed. This is called muzabana. Riba al-muzabana. It is not allowed for fear that the dry dates are different in volume on the tree, on the the dates on the trees. Therefore, it is not allowed. It's better to have them on the field. They're already outside. Because on the day you don't know. It's also you don't know if it's going to end up being any good. So this was not allowed. Wheat and barley, for example, the riba that is attached to them is called muhaqala. Muhaqala comes from the word haql, which is field. So this is also selling like a bag of wheat outside. I bring you a bag of wheat to buy what? To buy the wheat that's still in the plant, in the field. Again, they were unsure about the true nature, the true volume. They said no. When we say wheat for wheat, is the wheat outside. It's already been picked. Not going to this area at all. It's already been picked. Barley for barley, where it's already been picked. Those are the types of riba out there, but they are riba al-buyu', but they've been given different names, a lot of names. That's all.
Okay, sure. I think we will quickly take some of the questions that I see in the question and answer tab. There is one brother, Muhammad Tom. He's asking, is there riba in non-Muslim country and Darul Harb as well?
No, as far as I know, no. Some people say it, but no. It's you cannot take riba from anybody. It doesn't matter. I know this is mentioned all the time. There are some scholars who said you can take riba. No, as far as I know, riba is riba everywhere. It's universal. It doesn't matter with whom. It doesn't.
Yeah, it is like we say that alcohol, is it allowed in no haram can be halal in any.
No. This is based no.
Okay.
Anything else?
Another one is I think you have taken. If you want, in few sentences, if interest is not riba, what is riba?
Okay, riba is very specific to what we have been told is riba. It's not that. No. Let me correct that. It's not interest is not riba. Interest on money is riba. Is part of riba. But the interest when you buy a car, for example, what they call interest, when you buy a car, let's say I go to the dealer in the UK. The dealer may sell me the car in installments. He will increase the price and sell it to me. That increase in price, because I'm paying installment, is not riba. But it is interest, because interest outside of Sharia is simply any economic cost. You understand? It's if there is a cost to it. If I can, the sentence is the following: if I could pay later, and that later has a cost, it is interest. But not every interest is riba, because we know from deferred payment sale, I am paying later. If we consider that to be the prohibited interest, that would also be riba, but it is not. So interest, bank lending interest is riba. This has to be avoided. But interest that they consider to be an economic interest, which is the increase on the sales, on the price of the good, is not riba. Which is why the confusion in many countries in the West, and even actually including in Islamic countries, they look at that and say, but this is interest, I am paying more. Yes, but it's not riba. You could pay more. It's not wrong pay more, but it's not riba.
Okay.
I hope that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. There are one more question from Muhammad Nuruddin. He's asking, some scholars or individuals are of the opinion that cost murabaha that is similar to conventional bank interest. What is your view on this?
No, it depends on what type of murabaha. Perhaps it depends what he means. Does he mean that they look at it from the point of view that it's using the benchmark, the interest rate benchmark, or the actual amount itself? I have not heard of any scholar say that a murabaha transaction is riba.
Yeah, correct.
I have not heard that. However, the murabaha to the purchase order, which is different than a murabaha. Okay, the simple murabaha is I have this pen, I sell it to you at the price I want to, with a margin that is known. This is my cost, I sell it to you. It has nothing to do with deferment. Murabaha is simply how the price is measured. Murabaha simply means that the cost is known and we have agreed on the profit margin. But today people do murabaha with time delay, with deferment. So it's bay' بالثمن ajil with murabaha as a price mechanism. It's different. Now, murabaha to the purchase orderer is when somebody comes in and says, I need to buy this machinery from Germany, let's say. I need financing of this machinery from Germany. And it's called murabaha to the purchase orderer, where the bank goes and buys it and then sells it on deferred payment to the customer. As far as I know, most scholars approve of this and have no problem, as long as if it's done correctly. Perhaps he's talking about the murabaha that is done in tawarruq maybe,
Okay.
which is highly disputed, which is something else. But
Sure.
the simple murabaha of increasing the price or not, it is not riba. You can increase the price, no problem.
Yeah, increase the price as it in a sale. Is
In
not
a sale,
only
yes, exactly. In a sale, you're selling a commodity for money, you can increase the price.
So the difference is like on the nature of the transaction. If it is a lending transaction, increase is prohibited. Correct me, Sheikh, if I'm wrong.
Yes, yes.
The lending transaction, we need to look at whether it is a lending transaction or is a sale transaction.
Correct.
If it is a sale transaction, it is allowed to charge extra.
Yes.
Is allowed to charge extra. But if it is not a lending, if it is a lending transaction, you're not allowed to charge extra. Rather, you have given several examples where like fuqaha were and people were like very cautious, even sitting at the shade, under the shade, that it will be counted as riba because of the nature, because it was a lending transaction there.
Absolutely. Remember riba. If you look at the chart here, as I put it, and the riba of debts, it always happens between the same genus. Money, wheat. It cannot, it's otherwise you will have stopped all sales. All sales would have stopped if you had riba and everything. This is why in many tafsirs, when they explain what riba is, verse 275, they will say riba is the increase in money, not of sales, not coming from sales, because otherwise all business is stopped, right? You cannot do any business.
Correct. Your table can be applied for the money as well. So the money should be money for money, and it has to be immediate.
Yes, gold. Look at gold and silver. Gold and silver are money. I put down here, paper money is equivalent now of gold and silver, except that it's not traded by weight, right? You don't give me
of course
several bills by weight, it's by value.
Correct. If it lose value and then you trade by weight, then you trade by weight. Okay, the next question is about sukuk transaction. Is saying that issuers use a predetermined profit rate, quasi coupon payment, regardless if the sukuk asset go up or down in value. Is not this the same as riba?
No, predetermined rate does not mean it's riba. If the only issue is that it's a predetermined rate, it's not riba. Ijara is a predetermined rate. A sale is a predetermined rate. If I want to sell you a computer on deferred payment, I fix the price and I sell it to you and I can take collateral. So the predetermination of a rate is not actually what constitutes riba. All transactions of business have predetermination rate. It depends on the responsibilities of the customer. But sukuk, sukuk are a special Toro animal because there are so many kinds, and even within each kind there are many kinds. People think just only there's a few kinds. No, there are many hybrid type of sukuk. You have sukuk ijara, you have murabaha and mudaraba put together, you have all sorts of things. And each of them also has specialties in it, the bells and whistles of the transaction. So one cannot make just a determination of, just a general statement saying sukuk or this or sukuk or that. It depends on each sukuk and it depends on the scholars. But sukuk are one of the most disputed things actually. They're extremely disputed, by the way. Some people don't know that. They look at it superficially, but actually many aspects of sukuk are actually disputed, you see. So we cannot go and say this is haram or this is wrong or this is riba or that riba if the scholars have already approved it, because there are many areas of dispute.
Sure. There is one brother from Nigeria, Dahiru Dudu, saying that the Islamic banks, they charge significantly higher rate on ijara when they do the ijara, and which is much less than what the conventional banks charge for for rent. So is for the housing finance. So is it allowed that we go and borrow from the normal housing finance banks since
No.
they are charging less?
No, 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 no. That is not. I hear this all the time. This is not an excuse. I mean, this is like, this would have to be a case of like bad monopoly, and you know what I mean. Like, they're really no. You cannot do that. You cannot say that this guy is charging me 0.5% more, therefore I go to the Riba bank. No,
Yeah,
yeah. I've never heard of a scholar saying this is allowed under those circumstances. Yeah,
correct.
there
Yeah,
are
there.
Islamic banks, of course, around the world that are small. You see. Uh, so in many countries where Islamic banking is still not very strong, some Islamic banks are small. So they become expensive. They cannot do the same kind of deals as everybody else. However, in the Gulf, as you already know, Brother Muhammad, whether it's Dubai Islamic Bank or Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank, they are extremely competitive, even better than any of the conventional banks. But
Correct.
in some countries, other countries that are small, they will not be competitive. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You need to look for a bank which has better Islamic, which is Islamic bank and which is competitive, and hopefully with the spread of Islamic banking, more people and more banks will become more competitive, inshallah.
Absolutely.
Okay, brother, I will just go through the questions. I will take few of them
Yes.
more because I see a lot of them. Saying I have, how about if we do investing and we earn from interest? It is definitely riba.
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
asking.
Yeah.
So once it is established before.
Anything?
Yeah, I'm going
No.
through the question. I'm
Okay.
just checking the
Okay.
questions. Um,
Find the ones where they're not trying to get riba and ask questions like this.
no, we are. There is one. Is a bit technical question. I don't know. Like maybe many
Right?
people.
If I can answer it, I will. If not, I will.
Sure. You join the company and become a co-owner of the global portfolio of digital assets, security tokens. The company offers you a percentage of tokens in reward if you stake some of your security tokens for a period of time. Security token is subject to market price. It can go up or down in price. The staking of such assets is for increasing assurance and security of the blockchain. Is this promised reward okay or not?
Wallahi, I would not know. Allahu alam, because all this area of all these areas of tokens, all this area of sort of crypto tokens, digital assets is the whole new area, and many areas have not been discussed by the scholars as to whether the thing itself is allowed in the first place. This is one of the problems. So you know, I think people here know there are still many scholars, and they're still disputing whether things like Bitcoin is allowed or other currencies and so on and so forth. So whether I know there's a difference between token as an asset and a currency, but these things are not yet fully approved by the scholars. So the issue is not whether the structure is okay; it's whether the issue is halal or haram to begin with, i.e., whether the subject matter is mubah. You know, this is the issue. So I cannot answer that question unless some scholars actually say it is allowed.
Yeah, no, thank you. So there is another question from Nida Ibrahim. She's asking, exchanging wheat for gold in a deferment settlement, deferred settlement. What is the rule to ensure the gold payment is commensurate with the volume of wheat? Is the gold amount contractually stipulated at the beginning of the contract?
Yes, it is. You just simply sell wheat for gold. You can decide any amount you want. It's any agreement that you wish to sell, however price you want to. There is no requirement for wheat and gold to be in any equality in any. Of course not. You know, people when they buy wheat, they're not going to pay the same volume or weight or anything like that by gold. No, you can pay any gold you want for any wheat you wish, and one of them could be deferred. Now, when the gold is deferred, when the money is deferred, we call it the deferred payment cycle. Okay. When the product is deferred, the wheat is deferred, it's usually called salam. So you pay gold now for wheat later. Okay? Now, the interesting thing about salam, and you'll see that in the tafsir, example like Al-Fakhr al-Razi, is that Al-Fakhr al-Razi said, salam is our equivalent of riba. He said, when God forbade riba, he permitted salam contract. And the salam contract is specifically approved by verse 282 of Surah Al-Baqarah. It's called Ayat al-Dayn. Some call it Ayat al-Mudayra, which is the longest verse in the Quran. Okay? It's specifically approved. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh said, I swear that salam is approved specifically, and he read this particular verse. In salam, what people don't know, in salam you pay by a discount. The reason Al-Fakhr al-Razi was saying that it has all, he said, God forbade riba and permitted salam, although salam has all the benefits of riba. All the benefits of riba are available in salam. He said, this is why our scholars have said that when God forbids a particular haram path, he gives us a halal path to the same pleasure. So here what Al-Fakhr al-Razi is saying, it is not the benefit of riba that's not allowed. It is how you got the benefit of riba that is not allowed. So it's not the actual return, it's not the actual benefiting from your money increasing that is haram. It is how you got there. It is in the how. Sharia is always in the how. What is the mechanism that you have arrived at that? If that mechanism is forbidden, it's no good. So he said basically this is what salam. Salam is bought at the discount. They used to buy the product, wheat, at a discount to the present value. So if wheat today, let's say this bag of wheat is 100 today, in a salam contract, I pay the guy 90, and he will deliver to me the wheat in 1 year's time. That's why they call it equivalent to riba, because you have an immediate margin.
Okay. Sheikh, one last question. I think before I will allow maybe one or two people to open the mic and ask the question. There is one question from brother Nafis Ahmed. Is it permissible to take LC as guarantee for selling gold?
LC for selling gold, usually letter of credit. Usually, yes, for selling gold. What do you mean by selling gold? Like you sold you want to guarantee the other person or not? What is it?
Yeah, you LC or no? You like? I don't know what does he?
Yeah, what if he could put it in writing to me, because the details are important as to what is actually meant.
Correct.
Because each scholars have their own thing, but IOFI has very specific thing in their gold standard concerning what type of credit issues are allowed. Okay, but so it depends on who's issuing and what. If he would put it in writing, I'm more than happy to look into it and tell him, let's say, what IOFI is.
Sure.
Because I don't want to give a wrong answer for something which I'm not sure I understand the structure.
No, sure, inshallah. Okay, I think I see like there are 4 people who have raised hands. Let me see the names. Hassan, can you help me with the, yeah. Okay, there are 4 people. Hassan, can you open the mic for Sayyid Hashim? Assalamu alaikum, brother Sayyid Hashim, can you hear us? Hello? Hello?
Sayyid Hashim have left. I think Pradeep is there. He's unmute. Brother Pradeep, you can ask question.
Yes, sir. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
bro. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, sir.
Please go ahead.
I have a question. What's the relation of riba in global market and the economic transaction?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Can you kindly repeat, Pradeep? He's saying, what is the relation of riba with global market?
Global market and the transaction of the financial transaction.
Okay. No, most of the banks in the world, most of that are conventional banks. So riba is It's quite popular, of course. It's the big thing. This is why Islamic banks have tried to, to make Islamic banks to avoid that. But the conventional market today, the world system today, is based on riba. Yeah, of course. Lending at interest
Sure.
is the norm. Is the norm actually, right?
Yeah.
So
Riba is equal. Riba is like different, as Sheikh said, different than interest.
Yeah.
And as I suggested earlier, Brother Nizar has 3 books on the subject, and I would advise all of you to follow him on the LinkedIn as well. He's very interesting and thought-provoking and knowledgeable post from him on a regular basis, and his articles. Sayyid Hashim, I think he's back. Can you hear us, Sayyid Hashim?
السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
رمضان كريم.
كل عام وانتم بخير.
تكرما, I have question, but can I ask by Arabic language, please?
تفضل.
Yes, sure.
Yes,
sure.
تكرما أستاذ نزار, تكرما من حضرتك. أنا طالب عربي مصري أدرس في ماليزيا ماجستير Islamic Banking. تكرما يعني محتاجين إحنا الطلبة العرب محتاجين الدعم من حضراتكم كتوجيه كدورات مجانية. يعني أنا شايف التركيز كله عفوا على الطلبة الغير عرب, على اعتبار إن هم معتبرين العرب كلهم أغنياء. فتكرما احنا محتاجين دعمكم ومساندتكم دكتور, لان انا عفوا يعني انا الان انا محتاج ان انا اخذ IOP ومحتاج ادرس اكثر واتعمق اكثر, لكن الIOP شروطها جدا صعبه, محتاجه منك تري ريكومنديشن ليتر من الدكتور بتاعك. طبعا من الصعب ان انت تحصل على الدكاتره بتوعك في الفتره الحاليه. فتكرما دكتورنا الحبيب. الله.
شو شيخ.
كت
شكرا جزيلا وكل عام وانتم بخير. المعذره. تفضل.
عفوا, بس لا ان شاء الله اخ سيد, ان شاء الله نتكلم مع نبعث يعني الايوفي, بس ايوفي المفروض هو يعني يرخصوا شوي هم اسعارهم.
هم صحيح $1000 وفوق.
يعني هذه مشكله طبعا. ما حقدر اسوي شيء صراحه عليها, بس انه في دورات بالعربي, بس مش بماليزيا, يمكن اكثر دورات هنا بمنطقتنا. يعني لو تيجي هنا يمكن احسن لك لو تسمعني.
Okay, there is one more person, and I think this will be the last question that we will take.
السلام عليكم.
Yes, وعليكم السلام Ismail. Yeah, go ahead, Ismail.
نعم. Dr. Nizar.
نعم.
Please, I would like you to also permit me to speak in Arabic, sir, please.
تفضل. Go ahead.
طيب شيخنا, بارك الله فيك, نفع الله بكم.
الله يبارك فيك يا أخي.
أنا من نيجيريا وطالب مسجل الآن في الدكتوراه بماليزيا.
ما شاء الله.
ومن خلال محاضراتكم أشرتم إلى نقطة مهمة, وهي في مفاهيم المصطلحات في البنوك الإسلامية.
نعم.
حيث أشرتم إلى أن كلمة الربا الذين يقولون بأنها انترست فقط ليس مصطلحا, ليس مقوما على هذا الحد.
صح.
بحيث يتضمن معاني أخرى غير المقصود. فأسأل فضيلتكم شيخنا, هل لكم ترشدون إلى بعض الثغرات البحثية في البنوك الإسلامية الآن؟ حقيقة الآن مشروع بحثي في الدكتوراه في القواعد والضوابط الفقهية في المعايير الشرعية الأيوفي. لكن أريد أن أجد موضوعا جانبيا في هذا النطاق أيضا حتى آخذ بالحيطة, علما أنني ما فقط كان هذا من الرغبة, وإلا في الماجستير والكلية كان في أصول الفقه والفقه. لكن كنت في الدكتوراه أريد معاملات المالية, وأنا الحمد لله من خلال الدورات هذه أكثف معلوماتي وأجتهد قدر طاقتي, وأرجو إفادتكم شيخنا. بارك الله فيكم شيخنا.
والله أخ إسماعيل, أقول لك أعطيني فكرة أنا أحبها لأنه مهمة جدا. شوف, في العقود المركبة, وهذا المعيار رقم 25 أظن بأيوفي, هذه من أهم المسائل, لأن العقود المركبة هي مستقبل الصيرفة الإسلامية, لأن هذه اللي تعطيك الطريقة أنك يعني تسوي المنتج المهم لعند الناس. فالعقود المركبة لو تأخذها وما انكتب عنها كثير، يعني يمكن في كتاب ولا كتابين بالأكثر على العقود المركبة، فهي معيار رقم 25 بما أنك عم تطلع على القواعد المعايير. أنا أظن العقود المركبة تكون يعني مسألة ممتازة جدا، والصراحة صعبة بس هي من أهمهم.
Okay, I think we have any. There are many people. I will take one more. One more. Hassan, can you identify Kareem Sheikh and brother Kareem? You are unmute. You can speak. And the other brothers, I would humbly request that we have already passed the time, so maybe you can send your question, and we will inshallah. Maybe we will invite brother Nizar again. It has been a very interesting discussion. You can go ahead, Mr. Kareem Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Nizar.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's nice to give me an opportunity for such an interesting topic.
Thank you.
I was just trying to clarify the riba element when which is very common in the Middle East, that we go with the old jewelry to the jewelry shop and they give me an exchange some money, and with that I buy the new gold. So where is the element of riba inside?
No, if
no,
you are
the way you described it is not what he said. No. Even my wife was telling me to give the old one and take the new gold like 2 days back. But what you described, I think Brother Nizar said this is allowed. You sell the gold and you buy Sheikh. Brother Nizar.
Only thing is that they are making the paper transaction, paper receipt to me that old gold value is $500 and new gold value is $525. Please give me $25 in extra.
Now hold on. Okay. This is where you have to be careful. Now you must not give the gold for gold. You must sell the gold first before anything else, brother. Okay, sell the gold first. So if your gold is worth 500, you give it to him. He gives you 500. Once you have taken the 500, now if you want to buy gold worth 525, then you can use this 500 and add to it 25 and get the new gold. But do not exchange the gold for gold with extra money.
What I'm trying to tell is it to be a physical, I have to take possession of 500?
Yes. You have to take possession.
This is the clarification.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So your gold, your old gold, you hand it to him and he gives you the money. It has to be. Yes, hands you the money, or at least puts it on the counter. This is your money. Now it's done. He's taking possession. Then you can use the money to buy that.
This is what. Thank you very much, because this is what a clarification is. Most of the cases in the Middle East, what happens is we don't take possession of the physical cash.
Correct.
We just say, okay, you exchange it, I'll pay you the extra $500 or $25 more.
Yes, Brother Kareem, you actually raise a very important question about how people fall into riba these days. Accidentally, they don't know they do this. This is a common question. I swear to you, I have so many questions to the Sharia committees of banks and the committees of senior scholars of Saudi Arabia and other places. It's all about the same question. Everybody says the same thing. What's you do? Yes. You have to take possession. Each transaction is separate. You sell the gold, you take the money, you buy. This is very important. So thank you very much for the question.
Correct. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much all, and my sincere apology to those whom we are not able to, whose questions we are not able to take, and who raise hand and we cannot take them now, because we are already about half an hour ahead of our time that we requested from Brother Nizar. So I would like to take this opportunity. Alhamdulillah, this is one of the most well-attended webinars that we have, and Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the participants for active participation and such nice questions. And I would also like to thank Brother Nizar for his time. It's so interesting and exciting talking to you. Always, it's always like this, whether we talk to you on phone or we talk to you. No, mashallah, you feel like we keep talking. And inshallah, we will invite you again as well on further discussions. And for the knowledge of the users, again, I'm suggesting that go and check the web page of the LinkedIn page of Brother Nizar. And he has his books are quite interesting and not too bulky, and even not bulky on your pocket as well. They are the most like the most appropriately priced, nominally priced books that are there, and you will get a lot of information from them. And also, like before I conclude, I would also like to all of you to visit our webpage taiflearning.com. We are going to start on the page. You will see we are starting a registration for our new course, which is on Islamic Finance Qualification, CISI UK qualification. We will be starting the preparatory classes. This will be direct live classes. And inshallah, in next week, we will be announcing, you will be seeing the announcement for IUFI fellowship exams, SIPA and CSAA. Those will be self-paced classes. So, and also anybody who is interested in fintech, Islamic fintech course is also there. So, Brother Nizar, you can type his name on type his name, Brother Nizar you can type his name on Nizar Alshubaily. You can type his name on the LinkedIn, and you will find his link. And Brother Nizar, thank you very much once again. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, brother.
With this, we come to the end of this webinar. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the end of this session. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.